Hello and welcome to the NutriPsych podcast, where I give you bite-sized practical tips and advice on how to go from yo-yo dieting, emotional eating, and binge eating to achieving permanent weight loss results without counting calories, cutting out your favorite foods, or spending hours at the gym. My name is Helen and I'm a qualified nutrition consultant. After spending more than a decade and hundreds of pounds on diets, feeling ashamed and embarrassed about my body, losing and gaining the same weight like it was my job, I finally cracked the code to permanent weight loss results and lost more than 25 kilograms and kept it off. Now, it's become my mission to help you do the same so that you can say goodbye to yo-yo dieting, emotional eating, constant snacking, nighttime eating, and binge eating, all without feeling starved or deprived. If that sounds like something you are interested in, let's dive in. Welcome back to the NutriPsych podcast. This is Helen and I'm your host. I'm a nutrition consultant specializing in helping women stop yo-yo dieting, emotional eating, and binge eating so that they can lose weight and keep it off without counting calories, cutting out foods, or spending hours at the gym. And today, we are talking all about a very common phenomenon, emotional eating. In particular, how to recognize your emotional eating. Because I guess the first step to stopping emotional eating is recognizing that you're doing it. So today, we are going to cover what emotional hunger is and how it differs from physical hunger. So obviously, we need to know what emotional hunger entails because emotional eating is a common reason why many people struggle to lose weight and keep it off. Emotional eating is using foods as a means to dealing with emotions, such as fear, anger, frustration, boredom, or sadness for any reason. It is using food to distract us from our feelings or for comfort. So triggering emotions may include stress, sadness, loneliness, boredom, or even happiness. It's important to note that everyone eats for emotional reasons. Just think of when we go to a party and celebrate. It's a happy occasion, and probably not everyone there is physically hungry. But it's highly unlikely that we consider eating on those occasions a problem. However, it becomes a problem when food becomes your regular coping mechanism. Food becomes something you turn to for soothing and for comfort, and it occurs on a regular basis. Emotional eating is usually driven out of habit, because when you are feeling emotional or upset, because you know that certain foods taste good and you know food works, even just for a short time. So for the sake of this episode, anything not physical, we'll call it emotional hunger. So this means habits, habitual overeating, we'll also consider it emotional hunger. Here are a few questions that you can ask yourself to help you know if you are truly physically hungry or if it's emotional hunger. Like you're reacting emotionally or using food to handle the emotional feelings. When and how much did you last eat? If it's been a few hours or if you didn't eat much in your last meal or snack, it would likely be physical hunger. Are you thirsty? In previous episodes, we've talked about how many people confuse hunger and thirst. How does your body feel? Like where do you feel the hunger in your body? Does your stomach feel empty? Is it rumbling? Depending on how hungry you feel, physical hunger may be accompanied by feelings of emptiness in your stomach, rumbling sensations, and growling noises. If you're not sure, can you identify any emotions that you might be feeling? Even if you can't pinpoint exactly which emotion, can you tell if it's a positive or negative feeling? Are you anxious, depressed, or generally going through a particularly stressful time? Did anything happen over the last couple of hours that might be stirring up some emotions? As a rule of thumb, emotional hunger tends to come on suddenly, whereas physical hunger can be a lot more gradual. Emotional hunger usually involves specific types of food, like you get specific cravings for certain food, textures, or flavors, like greasy food, sweet, savory, or fried. It's usually because these flavors and textures help release dopamine in your body, giving you instant happiness, at least for a short period of time. Dopamine is also called the happy hormone and is a neurotransmitter that's triggered when you receive some kind of reward, and is a chemical reaction that your body repeatedly craves. So that's why usually when you are emotionally hungry, you crave certain textures or flavors. But for physical hunger, you are normally more open to a wider variety of choices. So a useful question to ask yourself would be if you're willing to eat something that's not your favorite, but you don't mind eating. Contrary to what diet culture tells us, it's actually okay to be hungry. That's how our bodies communicate with us. Without physical or emotional hunger, we can't really deal with the roots of the problem. Physical hunger is the feeling or signal that is sent via the vagus nerve from your stomach to your brain, due to fluctuations levels of growling, the hunger hormone. It's just the body's natural signal that it needs food for energy and fuel. Being hungry doesn't mean that you are weak or that you don't have the willpower to stay away from unhealthy foods. In fact, repeatedly ignoring your hunger is a recipe for disaster, because usually when you get to the point of feeling starved, you end up overeating, if not binging. Emotional hunger is also a chance for you to address any emotional needs that you may have. For emotional hunger, it's also common to eat more than you normally would, perhaps even till you feel uncomfortably full, and you may not feel satisfied even after eating. This is because when the problem is not hunger, the solution is not food. Food simply provides a distraction in these instances, so they don't actually tackle what the root cause is. On the other hand, when you're satisfying physical hunger, you get the feeling of being full and you tend to listen to your body's signals to stop eating. Eating for emotional reasons often leaves you feeling guilty or ashamed, like you have done it again. Whereas when you are eating to satisfy physical hunger, negative feelings do not usually follow. So that's why you need to practice learning the differences between the two. In the beginning, you may not be able to identify the differences or recognize that you're eating for emotional hunger until after you feel the guilt or another associated emotions. However, by tuning in more often for your body, by practicing identifying the differences, you'll get better at this and prevent emotional eating from happening even before it happens. Hopefully, today you've learned a bit more about how to differentiate between physical hunger and emotional hunger, and how to recognize that you're emotional eating. As I said before, as you learn to recognize these signs, you'll be able to fulfill these needs without food. Remember, the key to successful weight control is learning to listen to your body's cues. You want to eat when you feel hungry but not famished. Feeling overly hungry can trigger overeating. The tips we mentioned today can help you get in touch with the signs of hunger so that you can prevent overeating. If you want to fast-track your progress, however, and be guided through a step-by-step process, come join us in the Stop Binge Eating program, where we not only help you recognize this behavior, but also teach you effective ways to cope with a variety of different emotions, satisfy your emotional needs, implement strategies that help you break habitual overeating and emotional eating patterns that are specific to your emotions and situation. Check it out at helenwong.co.uk/SBEP. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Dive into the show notes for this episode at helenwong.co.uk/nutrition resources. If you've enjoyed this episode of the NutriPsych podcast, I invite you to check out the Stop Binge Eating program, which gives you access to a proven step-by-step roadmap with key strategies and skills that guide you from struggling with yo-yo dieting emotional eating, and binge eating to achieving permanent weight loss. Check out the Stop Binge Eating program at helenwong.co.uk/SBEP.